Once most of the cultivators had left, Devil Conquered turned to his disciple and spoke coldly. "Junior Marshal brother, follow me. There is something I must tell you privately." Without waiting for a response, he strode out of the hall. Devil Cloudpart hesitated, his eyes flickering with unease before silently following. It was clear he feared the towering black-robed man greatly. After they departed, Master Sunreach looked toward the two remaining cultivators, Hanley and the Pale Woman. "Fellow Taoists Han and Bai," he began warmly, "let's have a proper talk. You may first examine the items you're interested in before deciding whether to take part in the wagered battles. I understand your caution. This matter carries immense danger. Without worthy rewards, no one would risk their lives. But regardless of what you decide, I do hope you'll consider participating." Wei Wuya stood quietly nearby, hands clasped behind his back, his sharp eyes calmly observing them both. Hanley said nothing, waiting for the conversation to unfold. The woman, however, frowned coldly. "I am someone who walks her own path," she said flatly. "Whether the Mulan invade or fall has nothing to do with me. Were it not for your message about this item, I would never have come out of seclusion. Let's be clear. If what you offer isn't to my liking, I will leave without hesitation." Master Sunreach didn't take offense. His tone remained patient. "Fellow Taoist Bai, there's no need for hostility. What happened between us in the past was indeed a misunderstanding. But my actions were meant for your benefit, not harm." Her eyes flashed coldly. "I'll be the one to decide whether it was a mistake or not." "Enough talk. Show me the item." Hanley's expression stayed calm, though he couldn't help but feel curious. From her tone, it seemed she and Master Sunreach had a complicated history, perhaps even a personal one. Master Sunreach sighed softly, then took a white jade box from his storage pouch. The box looked ordinary, but the moment it appeared, the air in the room turned frigid. Even Han Li, whose cultivation made him long resistant to temperature, felt a wave of icy discomfort. The woman's eyes brightened. She could already sense the chilling aura coming from the box. Without a word, Master Sunreach extended the jade box toward her. She accepted it, opened it with a wave of her hand, and revealed its contents to Han Li as well. Inside were two transparent crystalline cocoons radiating a thin, frost-like mist. Hanley frowned. These were the cocoons of ice frost silkworms, the last-ranked species on the list of exotic spirit insects. Though weak in combat, they possessed a rare and extraordinary divine ability, something few in the cultivation world ever managed to obtain. If this woman sought them, she must have had a very specific purpose in mind. But instead of joy, her face darkened. "Why are they still cocoons?" "These aren't mature." Master Sunreach remained composed. "Fellow Taoist Bai, these were discovered 100 meters deep within a glacier. They're not ordinary ice frost silkworms, they're monarch silkworms. Examine them with your spiritual sense, and you'll see they're extraordinary." Her eyes narrowed. "Monarch silkworms?" She released her spiritual sense to probe the cocoons. After a moment, her rigid expression softened. "How about it?" asked Master Sunreach. "Though they're still in their cocoons, their grade should more than meet your needs." The woman hesitated briefly, then closed the box and stored it away. "With these, I'll participate in the wagered battle." Master Sunreach's shoulders relaxed. "Excellent. With your frost cloud arts, dealing with those Mulan spell warriors should be child's play." Her tone remained cold. "Then I'll take my leave." Without another word, she turned and exited the hall. Master Sunreach could only shake his head with a bitter smile. Wei Wuya chuckled quietly but said nothing. When she was gone, Sunreach turned to Han Li, his expression shifting to one of interest. "Fellow Taoist Han, how much auric essence do you require?" Hanley answered honestly, "Quite a lot. In truth, the more I can obtain, the better. But since auric essence is precious, I'll offer something of equal value in exchange. I won't let you suffer a loss." Master Sunreach chuckled. "It seems fellow Taoist Han is rather confident in his wealth. Still, you should know that at our level, there are few treasures that can truly tempt us. Were it otherwise, we wouldn't have sacrificed so many of our possessions for this war." Hanley simply smiled in silence. Wei Wuya finally spoke, his tone thoughtful. "Fellow Taoist Sunreach, don't underestimate him. This man escaped from a Mulan divine sage with only early nascent soul cultivation. He's far from ordinary." Sunreach raised a brow. "Heh, it seems I've spoken too lightly. Then, Turning back to Han Li, he said, "Regardless, let's not talk in circles. You can inspect the auric essence first. If you possess something that can move us, we'll gladly trade all of it to you." He reached into his storage pouch and summoned 3 glowing pieces of golden ore, one large, 2 small, and which floated into his palm. The light radiating from them was pure and dense, unmistakably auric essence. He handed them to Han Li. Han Li's heart thumped as he caught them. They were genuine, one roughly the size of a walnut, the others about half that. Together, they were enough to infuse over 10 flying swords with auric energy, but still less than what he needed. Though he kept a calm expression, disappointment flashed in his eyes. Sunreach noticed and was slightly startled. How much auric essence does he want? He thought, exchanging a puzzled glance with Wei Wuya. Wei Wuya's lips curved faintly. Without a word, he reached into his sleeve and drew out a chunk of auric essence the size of a fist. Han Li's heart leapt. With this addition, he might just have enough to forge 36 swords. Half the full. Aureate sword formation. Even half would be a tremendous leap in power. He caught the glowing piece with steady hands, examined it carefully, and exhaled. Although this isn't all that I require, it's sufficient. I'll participate in the wagered battle. Please, take a look at these and see if they're worth the exchange. He carefully put away the auric essence and retrieved 2 jade boxes, presenting one to each of them. Wei Wuya curiously weighed his box first and opened it. Inside were dozens of crimson, fingernail-sized scales that shimmered faintly with poisonous light. In Master Sunreach's box was a jet-black tortoiseshell the size of a man's fist, its surface inscribed with natural defensive runes. Both men were visibly surprised. Wei Wuya frowned. "These are demon beast materials," Master Sunreach muttered. Han Li nodded. "Exactly. Fellow Taoist Wei holds the scales of a grade 8 venomous flood dragon, and fellow Taoist Sunreach holds the shell of a grade 8 demon tortoise. I won't claim they're heaven-defying treasures, but such metamorphosed beast materials are exceedingly rare in the heavenly south. I believe they're more than enough to trade for your auric essence." His tone was calm, but his confidence was absolute. Even in the scattered star seas, grade 8 demon beasts were nearly impossible to encounter, much less kill. In the heavenly south, they were virtually extinct. Wei Wuya's eyes widened in delight. "The scales of a grade 8 venomous flood dragon." Han Li blinked. Realizing why he was so excited, Wei Wuya cultivated venom-based arts, and these scales were perfect for his path. Wei Wuya eagerly picked up one of the red scales, examining its texture with fascination. His composure cracked as he studied it closely, clearly imagining the possibilities it offered. Master Sunreach glanced at his companion, a flicker of amusement in his eyes. Then he looked back at Han Li and smiled. "It seems, fellow Taoist, Han has struck upon something quite to Brother Wei's taste. I must say, I'm also impressed by this tortoise shell. If these materials truly come from grade 8 demon beasts, they're worth every bit of the auric essence. Such a shell would make an ideal core for refining defensive treasures." Though he spoke easily, a trace of disbelief lingered behind his calm tone. For all his composure, it was hard to imagine how an early, nascent soul cultivator like Han Li had managed to acquire such priceless materials. Naturally, he intended to verify their authenticity for himself. As Han Li pondered over his next move, Wei Wuya let out a long, satisfied sigh. With a flick of his wrist, the jade box vanished in a flash of light, and a pleased smile spread across his face. "Excellent," he said warmly. "These are indeed the scales of a metamorphosed venomous flood dragon. Their purity is remarkable. With these, my magic treasure might truly advance to an entirely new level." Lifting his gaze, Wei Wuya studied Han Li carefully. "To think you, fellow Taoist Han, could bring forth such rare treasures, it is truly astonishing. These scales are of great importance to me, though we've merely exchanged what we each need. It would be wrong for me to appear as though I've taken advantage of you. After all, you'll soon be fighting for the heavenly south in the wagered battle, so allow me to make things fair." A glimmer of spiritual light flashed in Wei Wuya's hand, and an egg-sized golden crystal appeared. "I still have one last piece of auric essence. I had meant to leave it for my descendants, but since you're in need of it, take it. This way no one can accuse me of greed." With a casual wave, the glowing lump of auric essence floated through the air and landed gently before Han Li. Hanley's heart stirred as he accepted the crystal. With this final piece, he now possessed more than enough auric essence to temper all 36 of his flying swords. His purpose, in bringing out those rare grade 8 demon materials, had been achieved perfectly. In truth, those materials were of greater value than the auric essence itself, and to accept them without further compensation would indeed have been unfair. Of course, Han Li clearly understood their real motive. By acting so generous, they aimed to ensure his participation in the wagered battle. Though he was only one cultivator, a nascent soul expert of his level could sway the tide of battle, yet he could just as easily vanish afterward if he wished. Once he took the auric essence and left, there was little they could do to stop him. At that moment, Master Sunreach finished examining the tortoise shell Han Li had offered. His expression softened into a faint smile. He was clearly pleased with the find. However, upon seeing Wei Wuya hand over another piece of auric essence, Sunreach hesitated for a moment. Then, as though reaching a decision, he waved his hand and a faint golden light appeared. Resting in his palm was a 6-inch-long yellow rootstock, as thick as a thumb. A dense aura of life emanated from it, faintly pulsing with the energy of ancient times. From the strong wood attributed spiritual chi within your body, Master Sunreach said solemnly. I assume your cultivation art belongs to the wood element. I have little suitable to offer, but this rootstock comes from an ancient rattan palm. It may prove useful whether refined into a magic tool or absorbed to nourish your wood spiritual chi. Consider it fair compensation for the tortoise shell. At that, Wei Wuya's eyes widened in surprise. Yi, that's... Could it be? Hanley's expression changed subtly. His curiosity deepened, and when he saw Wei Wuya's reaction, a thought struck him. An ancient rattan palm? Could this be connected to the profound goddess palm? The legendary spiritual vine that both the righteous and Devil Dao once sought to revive. With the spirit root tree's wine nectar, Master Sunreach noticed their reactions but remained calm. Indeed, he said, this is a portion of the profound goddess palm. With Brother Han's knowledge, he must have heard of it. Unfortunately, despite the efforts of many, it could not be revived. In the end, we could only divide the remains with the Devil Dao and use the parts as refinement materials. This rootstock is 1/4 of the original palm's base. The profound goddess palm, Hanley murmured under his breath as he caught the rootstock, his mind stirring with wonder. He recalled the ancient texts he had studied that mentioned this mythical plant. Ordinary immortal rattans were already rare, but only a select few of truly divine origin could be called profound. Such vines were said to have existed since the dawn of creation, and any fruit or blossom they produced possessed unimaginable power, treasures that could defy heaven itself. Yet this particular palm had long since withered, its true nature hidden beneath an ordinary exterior. Were it not for the records discovered in an ancient cultivator's ruin, even the righteous and Devil Dao would have dismissed it as worthless wood. At first, both sides had fought bitterly over it, believing it to be a peerless treasure. Later, when their leaders realized its dormant state, they attempted countless methods to restore its vitality, watering it with spiritual milk, nourishing it with essence waters, even feeding it the divine wine nectar of the spirit root tree. But nothing worked. Defeated, they cut the ancient palm into many pieces, dividing them among their factions. One such fragment had eventually reached Master Sunreach as tribute, while another found its way to Wei Wuya's collection. Since it could no longer be revived, its value had plummeted in their eyes, though as a refinement material, it still surpassed almost all others. And because Master Sunreach's cultivation was not wood-based, he saw little reason to keep it, and thus gifted it to Han Li. Hanley understood this logic well. Though he was slightly disappointed, he didn't show it. His primary goal was auric essence, and he already had it. Still, as he gazed at the golden rootstock, an idea surfaced in his mind. He thought of the mysterious small green bottle in his possession, the same one that had once nourished the golden lightning bamboo, the soul-nurturing tree, and the spirit well tree. Its green liquid had miraculous powers of growth and rejuvenation. Perhaps, just perhaps, it could revive even this ancient, profound goddess palm. It was a slim chance, but the reward, if successful, would be beyond imagination. His disappointment faded, replaced by a faint spark of anticipation. He accepted the box containing the rootstock and said quietly, "Since I have obtained what I need, I will, of course, honor my word and participate in the wagered battles 7 days from now. The hour grows late, I should take my leave and prepare." Master Sunreach smiled politely. "Fellow Taoist Han is indeed decisive. The coming war will be fierce. It's only right that you make your preparations. We will not keep you any longer." Hanley gave a slight bow and turned to depart. Just as he was about to step out of the hall, Wei Wuya's voice rang out in a secret transmission. "Fellow Taoist Han," he said in a tone half serious, half amused, "in exchange for these venomous flood dragon scales, I'll forget about the matter of Fairy Nangong. Since fate didn't favor my nephew, I suppose it cannot be helped." Hanley froze for an instant, then a faint smile curved his lips. Without looking back, he continued walking until his silhouette vanished into the night. Inside the silent hall, the two great cultivators exchanged a long glance. After a moment, Master Sunreach spoke in a low voice. "What do you think? For Hanley to so casually bring out grade 8 demon beast materials. It's truly hard to believe. Do you suppose that during his disappearance, through the ancient teleportation formation, he obtained the complete inheritance of an ancient cultivator? Otherwise, how could he reach the nascent soul stage so quickly and possess such treasures?" Wei Wuya chuckled wryly. "That may well be the case, but such matters are of no concern to us. Many throughout history have stumbled upon ancient inheritances. Fortune favors the bold, as they say. Still, surely you're not thinking of seizing his treasures, are you?" Master Sunreach laughed softly. "Of course not. I'm not so foolish. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't. His ability to escape a Mulan. Divine Sage already proves he's no ordinary opponent. Attempting to rob him would only cause trouble without reward. Besides, would his treasures really let me step into the deity transformation stage? Hardly." He paused, then added with quiet confidence, "And don't forget the Heavenly Tao Union and those pair. Cultivators are not people one provokes lightly. It's best we stay on good terms with him. Hanley's power and his knack for survival may prove crucial in the battles ahead." As Hanley pondered his next move, Wei Wuya and Master Sunreach remained in the hall discussing him, but outside, the man himself had already stepped into the cool night air. To his mild surprise, he caught sight of Dong Xuaner standing quietly not far away. She was dressed in white and stood with her head slightly lowered, lost in thought. The guards ignored her since she had entered with Devil Cloud part earlier. When she finally noticed Han Li emerging from the hall, she stiffened slightly, her expression becoming complicated. There was confusion in her eyes, mixed with something that looked faintly like resentment. Hanley paused for only a breath before his gaze grew indifferent. He didn't understand what she wanted, nor did he wish to find out. Without a word, he walked past her as if she were a stranger, heading straight for the distant street. Dong Xuaner bit her lip, watching his back disappear into the night, but said nothing. Only when he turned a corner and her spiritual sense no longer brushed against his did Hanley finally sigh softly and shake his head. Silvermoon's gentle voice echoed within his consciousness. "Master, you know that woman?" Hanley answered casually. "An old acquaintance, nothing more. Our relationship was never good." "Oh?" Silvermoon teased with a soft laugh. Her expression said otherwise. "Could it be that Master once—" "Enough nonsense," Han Li interrupted, his tone cold. "We were enemies once. That's all." Hearing the edge in his voice, Silvermoon only smiled faintly and fell silent. Since the incident with the purple cloud lace and the ancient flower basket, Hanley had treated her with more trust. In turn, Silvermoon had grown bolder in her speech, though she never dared cross his boundaries. Their relationship had subtly changed, less of wary cooperation, more of quiet understanding. When Hanley returned to the Drifting Cloud Sect encampment, he immediately sought out Luluo and told him about the meeting's outcome. Luluo frowned deeply, concern clear in his eyes. "Junior Marshal, brother, there's no need to risk your life in the wagered battle. Auric essence is indeed precious, but it's not worth gambling your life over." Hanley smiled faintly. "Please rest assured, Senior Marshal, brother. I wouldn't agree to this unless I was confident. Still, before the battle, I won't be able to take care of our sect disciples. I must ask that you oversee their safety." Luluo hesitated, then nodded. "Very well. I'll handle it. Since you're confident I won't stop you, Is there anything else you'd like the disciples to prepare? Hanley pondered for a moment, then retrieved a jade slip from his sleeve and handed it over. There are some materials I'll need for my preparations. Please have our disciples collect them for me. Lulo accepted it without question. Understood. As long as they can be found in Sky First City, I'll have them delivered to you. Hanley gave him a grateful nod before taking his leave. The jade slip contained a list of materials. For refining a spirit, subjugation talisman, a grand talisman technique he had obtained. In the Umbra realm, it would serve as his trump card for the wagered battle. Hanley knew his current strength was formidable, but he never relied solely on luck. If there was even a chance to prepare one more killing move, he would take it. He had originally intended to find a proper spirit, talisman brush, and practice his technique before attempting it. But with only a few days left, there was no time for perfection, only for results. If he succeeded, the talisman could turn the tide of a deadly battle. If he failed, he would lose nothing but time. Determined, Hanley returned to his quarters and shut himself inside a secluded room. 2 days later, he had obtained all the materials he needed. Delighted, he silently thanked his decision to join the Drifting Cloud sect. Their network had proven efficient. He sat cross-legged at the center of the sealed room, laying out each of the materials before him. Then from his storage pouch, he took out a small black-green bottle. With a flick of his wrist, he uncorked it, and a crimson streak of light shot out. Prepared in advance, Hanley waved his hand, summoning a large palm of azure light. It closed around the crimson light, trapping it completely. Within the glow, the light shifted, revealing the tiny, serpentine form of a crimson flood dragon, several inches long. The miniature creature twisted and writhed, trying to escape, but the azure walls held it firmly. Hanley's eyes gleamed blue as he activated his bright sight spirit eyes. Instantly, every detail of the creature's soul came into view. Though its aura remained powerful, its eyes had dulled, the spark of intelligence was gone. The once mighty Grade 8, venomous flood, dragon's soul had been reduced to little more than a feral beast's instinct. Hanley sighed inwardly. Once this creature had soared through storm and sea, brimming with power and cunning. Now, after mere decades sealed in a bottle, its consciousness had decayed into emptiness. The sight made him reflect. Even mighty cultivators, should they lose their bodies and fall into another's hands, could share this same pitiful fate. After a moment of silent thought, Hanley waved his hand, and the dragon's soul floated 3 meters above his head, within the azure barrier. Then, ignoring it, he focused on the material spread before him. He pointed toward a piece of emerald green spirit beast hide. It flew up and hovered before him. With a soft exhale, Hanley spat out a thread of azure nascent flame that wrapped around the hide. The flame didn't burn it. Instead, it enveloped the hide completely. Hanley formed a series of intricate hand seals, sending bursts of light into the fire. The nascent flame pulsed and shimmered as the beast hide began to soften and ripple. Next, he flicked open a white jade box beside him, revealing silver powder that sparkled like starlight. With a light tap, a portion of it drifted into the azure flames, turning them silver white. The hide twisted within, slowly taking the shape of a large luminous lotus. One by one, Hanley added other materials, each burning in dazzling colors. The flames shifted, silver to black, black to green, then finally crimson. When the final transformation occurred, Hanley exhaled softly and muttered an incantation. Azure threads of light extended from his fingertips and struck the crimson hide, making it tremble and sway rhythmically. Wisps of black chi seeped from it and burned away in the flame, releasing a faint fishy scent. He maintained the refinement for 2 full hours, until the last trace of impurity was gone. Only then did he finally allow the flames to fade with a quiet pop. Floating before him was a palm-sized crimson spirit hide, smooth and flawless. Satisfied, Hanley nodded. With a wave of his sleeve, the azure barrier above him dissolved, and the flood dragon's soul plummeted down, drawn into the crimson hide in a flash of light. A muffled puff echoed through the chamber, and both soul and hide vanished together. Hanley calmly absorbed the flood dragon's soul into the spirit hide, then turned his palm over to summon a sparkling blue talisman brush. About 7 inches long, it glimmered faintly as spiritual light pulsed through its body. With his other hand, he waved, and a blue jade box floated over. releasing a ball of golden liquid that shimmered mid-air. Dipping the brush into the golden liquid, Hanley's eyes focused sharply on the spirit hide. His hand moved swiftly, painting invisible patterns in the air. Each motion carried precision and rhythm as golden talisman characters began to form, flowing from the brush's tip before embedding themselves into the hide. Soon, rows of golden runes appeared on its surface, neatly aligned and shining brilliantly. As the talisman characters took shape, the spirit hide started trembling violently, roaring with deep dragon cries. Its surface rippled and bulged. Before the crimson flood, Dragon Soul suddenly tore free, struggling to escape, but the golden talisman characters flared with dazzling light, twisting and constricting around the soul, dragging it back toward the hide. Even without intelligence, the flood dragon soul was still a beast spirit, driven by primal instinct. Sensing danger, it struggled madly, trying to break free of the glowing runes. Hanley didn't hesitate. His hand moved faster, summoning more talisman characters that surrounded the dragon soul like chains of golden light, overpowering it and forcing it back into the spirit hide. Seeing his chance, Hanley pulled out a small bottle of purple liquid, dipped his brush into it, and drew an odd, ancient symbol. He then switched back to cinnabar ink and continued his work with steady precision. Soon, bursts of light of various colors began flashing across the spirit hide, spiritual chi swirling around it in dense waves. Hanley's expression turned serious. His strokes slowed as he activated his bright sight spirit eyes, blue light gleaming in his pupils. With extreme care, he drew a crimson talisman symbol onto the spirit hide. But before he could finish, violent spiritual chi fluctuation suddenly erupted from it. Hanley's face darkened. Without hesitation, he waved his sleeve, summoning a surge of azure chi that swept all materials back into his storage. At the same time, he called forth a small blue shield that instantly expanded before him. A moment later, the crimson spirit hide detonated with a thunderous roar. Dazzling rainbow light erupted outward, shaking the sealed chamber. The powerful shockwave slammed against Hanley's blue shield, but to his surprise, the shield held firm, barely trembling under the blast. Hanley blinked in disbelief. The spirit subjugation talisman was immensely powerful. Its failure should have caused catastrophic destruction. Yet the explosion's force had been completely absorbed by his shield. Before he could dwell on it, a streak of crimson light shot upward, trying to escape through the ceiling. It struck a layer of white light and was instantly rebounded. Hanley's eyes lit up in delight. It was the flood dragon soul. With a flick of his hand, he summoned a giant azure hand that grabbed the dragon soul and pulled it back. The shield rippled with blue light and shrank, returning to his sleeve. Hanley then examined the captured soul again with his bright sight spirit eyes and frowned. "Yee!" he murmured in surprise. The flood dragon soul was weaker now, its crimson glow dim and unstable. It was still intact but far less powerful. He rubbed his chin thoughtfully. The failure hadn't destroyed the soul, merely reduced its strength. That meant he could try again, several times even. Each attempt would weaken the soul, but it might also make refinement easier. A small smile touched his lips as he realized the blessing hidden within his failure. With renewed determination, Hanley prepared a new set of materials and a fresh spirit beast hide. He began another round of careful refinement, continuing his work for 3 full days. During those days, Skyfirst City grew tense. Every cultivator and sect began to mobilize, preparing for the coming decisive battle. They knew that if they didn't defeat the Mulan forces, the heavenly south would fall. Their morale was unshakable. The city pulsed with anticipation. Rumors spread quickly about the 10 wagered battles between the strongest cultivators of both sides. Yet to protect their identities, the names of the 10 nascent soul participants remained secret, known only to the few elders who had attended the High Council meeting. Discussions and speculation ran wild, as countless lives depended on their victory. Meanwhile, the drifting Cloud Sect members departed the city with their assigned divisions. Only Cultivator Song remained behind. Ordered to wait for Hanley, Luluo had reluctantly joined the others on the battlefield. As the days passed, Cultivator Song grew increasingly anxious. From Hanley's residence came bursts of dragon roars and explosive noises that made her heart pound with worry. On the fifth day, unable to bear it any longer, she decided that if Hanli didn't emerge soon, she would force her way in, even if it risked interrupting his cultivation. She sat in the main hall, glancing repeatedly toward the setting sun as her thoughts raced. Just as she was about to move, the clear sound of bells echoed outside. Her eyes widened in relief. Moments later, Hanli appeared in a flash of azure light. "Marshal Uncle Han!" she exclaimed, bowing deeply. "How many days has it been? The city feels empty." Hanli's spiritual sense swept outward. He could sense only a few cultivators left. Most had already departed. Cultivator Song quickly replied, "It has been 5 days, Senior." Hanli nodded decisively. "Good. There's still time, but we shouldn't delay. Let's go. As you command." He waved his sleeve, and a streak of white light flew out into the courtyard, revealing a sleek, winged carriage, the wind-riding chariot. Hanli stepped inside and looked back at her. "Come, it's faster than flying with light." Cultivator Song's eyes flickered with curiosity as she entered. The chariot trembled, wrapped itself in white radiance, and shot into the sky like a streak of light. The wind-riding chariot proved its worth, gliding effortlessly through the air at incredible speed while consuming little magic power. Sky First City vanished behind them in moments. Song exhaled softly in awe. Watching Hanli's calm composure, she couldn't help but wonder, what had he been doing these past days? Were those dragon roars connected to some new cultivation technique or a powerful artifact? Before she could ask, Hanli's calm voice interrupted her thoughts. "Is fellow Taoist Violet spirit still where she was before?" Startled, Song replied respectfully, "Violet Spirit and Mei Ning left the city. They plan to wait out the war before deciding their next steps." Hanli smiled faintly. "That girl is clever. A wise choice. I would have done the same." He pressed his foot lightly, pouring more spiritual power into the chariot. It blazed forward, a streak of white across the sky, vanishing swiftly beyond the horizon. Several days earlier, on the border between the states of Yu and Beiliang, two vast forces, cultivators, from the heavenly, south and spell warriors from the Mulan plains had established massive war camps. Magic tools and treasures rumbled through the skies as both sides carved defensive formations into the earth, turning the once barren wilderness into a fortress of light and tension. Within a single night, the quiet landscape transformed into a sea of spiritual energy, filled with shouting men and flickering talismans. Patrols of both cultivators and spell warriors swept the area restlessly, wary of ambushes. Each day brought more reinforcements, fortifications, and intricate spell formations that blanketed the border like a web. Though patrols occasionally crossed paths, neither dared to strike first. Both sides held their bloodlust in check, waiting for the day of decisive battle. By the 6th day, the grand formations of both armies were complete. Probing attacks and small skirmishes began to test the enemy's strength. High-level cultivators and Mulan commanders personally oversaw the patrols, while strategists of both sides worked day and night to finalize battle plans. Farther north of the Heavenly South's camp lay Sky First City, relatively peaceful but tightly guarded. Sentries patrolled its skies constantly. One patrol squad, led by a beautiful young woman in her 20s, flew silently over the region. Her name was Xiaoquir, an early core formation cultivator, accompanied by 10 Foundation establishment subordinates. Though it was a routine mission, their faces were tense. Suddenly, Xiaoquir froze mid-flight. Her sharp spiritual sense picked up a distant fluctuation. Her expression turned alert as she peered toward the horizon. Her subordinates stopped immediately, following her gaze, though they saw nothing. "Senior Xiao, what is it?" one man began. But before he could finish, a streak of white light tore through the sky at astonishing speed. "What incredible speed?" another cried out. In a blink, the light grew brighter, revealing the vague outline of a flying carriage within it. Xiaoquir's eyes narrowed slightly. It must be the senior who stayed behind in Sky First City. According to our rules, I must verify his identity. "Wait here." Her voice was calm but firm. With a flash of yellow light, she shot forward alone. The others exchanged uncertain glances but dared not interfere. None of them were from her sect, and her cultivation far surpassed theirs. Moments later, the streak of white light stopped before her. Within it, a strange white carriage floated in the air. Xiaoquir cupped her hands respectfully. Junior of Yellow Maple Valley, Xiaoquir greets Senior. I am under orders to verify your identity. I ask for your understanding. A familiar voice chuckled from within. Ye Xiaoquir? Xiaoquir blinked in surprise. The voice was familiar, yet not one of the nascent soul cultivators she knew. Senior, do you know this Junior? She asked uncertainly. The white light faded, revealing the passengers. A man and a woman stood inside the chariot. The man wore azure robes and had an unassuming face, while the woman beside him was beautiful and dressed in white. Xiaoquir's eyes widened in disbelief. Marshal Uncle Han, she gasped, covering her mouth. Hanli smiled faintly. Little girl, you've grown. You look nothing like the timid disciple I remember. Marshal Uncle Han, it really is you, she said joyfully. Senior Marshal's sister Ni and senior brother. Lei once said you'd formed a nascent soul, but I could hardly believe it. Hanli nodded with a smile. I met them by chance some time ago. It seems fate wanted us to cross paths again. He looked at her fondly. Xiaoquir had been the disciple of his late senior marshal brother Ma, whom Han Li had once helped enter Yellow Maple Valley. Though he hadn't known her well, seeing her now stirred memories of his early cultivation days. Cultivator Song, who stood beside Han Li, observed silently, her mind turning. She remembered hearing that Han Li was once a disciple of Yellow Maple Valley, so this woman must be an old acquaintance from his past. As the two caught up, Xiaoquir recounted her journey, how she and Senior Marshal Brother Ma had fled from the Devil Dao, their return to the sect, and her master's eventual passing in meditation. She told him how she had finally reached the core formation stage. Her words carried both pride and sorrow. After some hesitation, Xiaoquir looked at Han Li earnestly. Marshal Uncle, have you truly become a drifting cloud sect elder? Can you not return to Yellow Maple Valley? Her tone was hopeful. The truth was that Yellow Maple Valley's situation had become dire. Ancestor Lingu was their only nascent soul cultivator, and his lifespan was nearing its end. The sect feared losing its standing among the six sects of Ye, knowing her close ties to Han Li. The elders had urged Xiaoquir to ask him to return, praying he might reconsider his refusal. Han Li's smile faded. He shook his head slowly. I cannot return. The Drifting Cloud sect has treated me with kindness, and I have my own responsibilities there. It's best not to mention this again. Xiaoquir's face dimmed. But our Yellow Maple Valley? Han Li sighed softly. Don't worry. I've already made a promise to Ancestor Lingu. If the sect ever faces danger, I will lend my aid if it's within my ability. Her eyes brightened immediately. So it's like that. Many thanks, Marshal Uncle Han. After a moment's thought, Han Li turned his hand and produced an emerald ring and a jade bottle of pills. You don't need to thank me. You were my senior marshal brother Ma's disciple, and it's been many years since I've seen you. Take these. The ring is a magic treasure from a core formation cultivator. I defeated. It will serve you well in battle. The pills inside will help you break through your bottlenecks. Xiaoquir accepted them with deep gratitude, bowing respectfully. Many thanks, Marshal Uncle. Han Li nodded. All right, I must go. The others are waiting for me at the war camp. If fate allows, we'll meet again. Before she could respond, the wind-riding chariot surged forward, streaking away as a beam of light across the horizon. Farewell, Marshal Uncle Han. Xiaoquir called after him, bowing low as his figure vanished from sight. Her subordinates soon arrived, whispering among themselves. Senior Xiao, who was that? Was he a nascent soul cultivator? He looked so young. Her expression hardened as she turned to them. That senior is not someone you should gossip about. He is a nascent soul expert and once showed me great kindness. Do not mention this again. Continue the patrol. The cultivators immediately fell silent and followed her orders. Meanwhile, the wind-riding chariot sped swiftly toward the war camp. Near the border, Han Li dismissed it, preferring to fly quietly so as not to draw attention. Cultivator Song remained respectfully silent, earning Han Li's approval. Soon they arrived before a towering light. Barrier, an immense protective formation that shimmered with multicolored light and enveloped the entire camp. Guards on duty noticed Han Li's aura and hurriedly verified his identity before opening a passage for him to enter. Once inside, Han Li and Cultivator Song went their separate ways. Song went to report to Lulo and join her assigned division, while Han Li made his way toward the camp's center, where Master Sunreach and the other nascent soul elders awaited him. They greeted him warmly, sharing the latest strategies and arrangements for the coming battle. Han Li listened politely but soon excused himself. Finding a quiet stone chamber, he sat cross-legged, closed his eyes, and began to focus his spirit, calmly, preparing for the storm of war that was about to erupt.